Hello, guys. Today we will be discussing and analyzing the concept of groupthink, which is a psychological phenomenon that affects the way people make decisions when they are involved in a group. Groupthink occurs when group members are seeking unanimous agreement, ignoring their own self doubt, leading to poor decision making and poor thinking skills, instead of being willing to consider outside opinions or criticism. They dismiss them all to harmonize their own views, even if they have self doubt. When groupthink occurs in communication, the group members ignore opposing opinions and convince themselves that all of the choices they are making are correct when they are in fact not. Psychologist Irving Janis identified 8 major symptoms of groupthink, and understanding these symptoms helps us recognize when a group is falling into this dangerous mindset. These symptoms include illusion of invulnerability, where members become overly confident and ignore risks. Collective rationalization occurs when they justify or explain away opposing ideas. Illusion of mortality, the belief that their decisions are always morally right. Excessive stereotyping, where critics are labeled as wrong or inferior. Pressure for conformity that silences disagreement. Illusion of unanimity, when everyone assumes total agreement. Self censorship occurs when individuals minimize the importance of their disagreements in order to be accepted in the group. And mind guards, who protect the group from hearing criticism or negative information. When people can understand and recognize when people are experiencing groupthink, it can help to stop it and lead them to make decisions based on logic and evidence that are correct. The illusion of mortality occurs when group members believe their decisions are morally correct simply because the group made them. They stop questioning the ethics of their choices and ignore any arguments that challenge their beliefs. This illusion forms when members assume that their group is the good one, so everything they do must be right. Because of this, they tend to overlook warnings, disagreements, or concerns about whether their actions are truly ethical. This mindset can create a sense of self righteousness, making members feel morally superior even when their decisions are harmful. It occurs when members of a group believe their decisions are ethically and morally correct only because they are made by that group. This causes the group to ignore disagreements or warnings about the mortality of their actions. The psychological effects of this are that members feel less personal responsibility for the incorrect outcomes. People who disagree or question the group's ethics are usually ignored and dissipated, and they create a double standard where they judge others' opinions but think their own unethical decisions are justified. Consequences of this are that it leads the group to make bad decisions, but they are viewed as acceptable and reasonable. This leads members to justify their incorrect decisions as serving the overall greater good morally. An example of this is in military decisions where leaders may justify civilian harm as necessary to defend their nation without considering the morality behind the decision. Everyday examples of the illusion of mortality is when a friend group justifies excluding someone. A group of friends decides to not invite one person because they're annoying instead of questioning whether it's mean or unfair. The group tells them that we're just protecting the vibe and it's for the best. They feel morally justified even though they're hurting someone. Excessive stereotyping happens when group members create negative images or outsiders or critics. Anyone who disagrees with the group is viewed as wrong, unintelligent, or even dangerous. This prevents the group from considering valuable feedback. When members stereotype critics, they protect themselves from disagreement and avoid challenges to their beliefs. Instead of seeing opposing views as helpful, they see them as threats. Psychological effects of this is that it creates a great divide between outsiders and the group, and it makes it all seem like a competition and hard to collaborate. It reduces empathy for outsiders, and members only listen to information that supports their opinion and dismiss that which opposes them. Consequences of this is that the group members ignore all feedback, even that which may be valuable. They make poor decisions as their opinions are from a small group and a perspective. An example of this is in political groups. Many people label opposing sides as critics in a negative way to avoid arguing their points as they may be wrong. Everyday examples of this is a friend group calling anyone who disagrees dramatic. If someone speaks up about a problem, the group dismisses them by saying they're just overreacting, they're so dramatic, instead of listening to the group, creates a stereotype so they don't have to consider other viewpoints.
Pressure for conformity is the next symptom of groupthink. This is when individuals do not express their doubts or disagreements in order to fit in with the group due to pressure from others. This actually can be beneficial in some situations because sometimes it makes decisions more efficient, but oftentimes it makes it so huge flaws are not revealed, weakening the group. It largely decreases group adaptability because in unstable environments, such as people asking questions or bringing up concerns during presentations, They do not know all the answers or have even considered all sides of them due to less communication. This often happens because there is actual pressure from other members to conform, which stifles growth and adaptability. For example, if you're working in a group and are working on a presentation and you see a huge flaw, sometimes other members do not want to put more effort into the project and therefore pressure you into not saying anything or just disregarding the problem entirely. The biggest real life example of this is the Asch conformity experiments in 1951, where there is a line and you have to compare it to three other lines and tell which of the three is most like the other. And the answer is always obvious. There are 11 imposters given direction to either give correct answers or incorrect answers. There is one actual person answering the questions, often last or second to last. The experiment showed that 75% of the time, when the 11 imposters gave the wrong answer, the actual person gave the wrong answer because they did not want to look stupid in front of the others. They did 12 series of tests, 3 trials per person with 12 separate people. And there were 2 outliers where they always gave correct answers no matter what. Self-censorship is the fourth symptom of groupthink. This is when there is individual internal pressure to fit in with the group that forces them not to say what they think, censoring themselves. This is actually very similar to pressure for conformity, but instead of external pressure from other group members, there's internal pressure silencing you. This hinders the group ability to make well-informed decisions because doubts and problems do not arise as often, which therefore decreases group adaptability, just as pressure for conformity does. Because they do not look at all sides of issues, and then therefore they do not do well in unstable environments because they miss the issues of their topic. This actually contributes to the illusion of unanimity because when people do not voice dissent, it is implied that everyone agrees. One example of this is when making business decisions and a team is about to launch a new product. There are some very obvious issues within the product, but only a couple of team members notice this. These few team members assume that they are alone in seeing these issues, and so instead of voicing their concerns, to fit in with the group, they stay quiet, hoping to keep their popularity within the company. Now, a real life example of this happening was in 1986 with the Challenger space shuttle disaster. This is when the space shuttle exploded due to wing and engine failures, which many engineers on the team actually saw flaws with prior to launch, but did not speak up because they feared being the only one to object to the launch. This ultimately led to the disaster where the shuttle exploded, killing 7 astronauts. This is a very extreme example, but a widely known and televised one.
The next point of the groupthink is the illusion of unanimity. The definition of this is when a group believes that everyone agrees with the topic or idea, even though some people may actually disagree. This may happen because people stay silent during discussions, so their silence gets mistaken for complete support. Group members also may stay quiet because they don't want conflict and they feel pressured to fit in or assume their ideas are not important. How this may happen is silence is read as an agreement, even though it's really uncertainty. Group norms make people feel like disagreeing will slow the group down or make them stand out. Also, leaders or confident members sometimes dominate conversations, making others think that their ideas must be wrong if nobody else says them as well. Some effects of this may be the group becomes overly confident in their decisions because they think that everybody supports it when actually there's not unanimous support. It is important that concerns or warnings never get brought up. The group stops looking at alternative options or solutions, which may limit better choices. Members feel pressure to go along with the group even when they have doubts about said thing. Some consequences of this might be poor decision making, since no one actually questions the idea or topic. Higher chance of failure since risks are ignored. People might regret staying silent later when problems tend to happen. The group also may blame each other afterward for not speaking up earlier. I'm also using the example of the Challenger space shuttle disaster, since engineers had concerns about the O-rings but did not strongly challenge leadership. The NASA leaders assumed that there was full agreement to launch, even though there was not. The silence created a false sense of unity that helped lead to a very tragic outcome. Some everyday examples of this may be just a friend group choosing a restaurant and one person doesn't like the place, but they stay quiet, so everyone thinks they agree with where they want to go. Another one may be a school group project where several students think the plan won't work, but no one wants to be the negative Nancy, so they pretend to agree. The next groupthink uh, idea is mind guards. The definition of mind guards are people within a group who protect the group from information that might cause disagreement, doubt, or conflict. They act like gatekeepers, filtering out certain warnings, criticisms, or alternative ideas so the group only hears what supports the preferred decision. This can be done intentionally or unintentionally. How mind guards tend to operate. They block or downplay negative information that could challenge the group's plans. They may interrupt or silence members who raise concern. They also may only share information that confirms what the group already wants to do. Sometimes they act to protect the leader, quote unquote, from criticism, believing that they're helping the cause. They may convince others to not speak up also because it could ruin the group's progress. Some effects of this may be the group becomes extremely biased because they're not getting the full picture and they're not seeing a different side. Members may start to believe that the chosen decision has no real risk since opposing information never reaches them, and they don't see that. The group also may assume that its plan is stronger than it really is, creating a vast overconfidence. Some consequences of this may be bad decision making since the group is working with an incomplete or filtered information and not seeing that full picture. Also, major risks may be ignored or hidden until it is too late and something happens. Group members may also lose trust when they realize the information was intentionally kept from them. The group can face blame, failure, or even disaster because important warnings were never shared. One real example of this would be the Bay of Pigs invasion in 1961. Advisors around President Kennedy, acted as mind guards by downplaying the criticism of the invasion plan. They filtered out doubts and made the plan seem more supported and less risky than it actually was. Since this, Kennedy never heard the strong opposing views, so the mission ended in failure. Some everyday examples would be in a group project, one student deletes feedback from a teacher since they don't want the group to change direction or maybe lose progress. Another one may be a friend refuses to tell the group that an event they're planning has a major scheduling conflict because they don't want to ruin the hype.
Okay, the next thing we'll be talking about is invulnerability. The definition of invulnerability is when a group begins to believe their decisions and actions are untouchable or that the group is unbeatable. They ignore warnings or signs of danger that run contrary to their conscience. Often it is a misunderstood concept. Small groups start to grapple with their perceptions of strength and resilience, and some might begin to feel a sense of invulnerability due to past success and strong relationships. It is crucial to understand that invulnerability is an illusion. It can lead to overconfidence, which causes individuals to overlook potential risks and challenges during the project. Although embracing vulnerability can deepen connections with others in the group, it is important to recognize this concept's strengths and weaknesses. An example of this might include a small group with a couple of members having so much confidence that they are more eager to take extreme risks and convince others in the group that it is the right choice. What this can do is lead to problems that will hurt the group in the long run. The next thing that we'll be talking about is rationale. The definition of rationale is groups that engage in groupthink rationalize their decisions even in the face of obvious warnings or negative feedback that they receive. This is typically thought to be the case because if the group considered these pushbacks further, the group members' egos and the time needed to make the decision may be harmed. They create an intimate environment within small groups where members feel more comfortable sharing their ideas and perspectives. This fosters open communication and participation as individuals feel less likely to be overshadowed by louder voices. With the rationale strategy in smaller groups, it is easy to agree on things when you can be open and comfortable with one another. This is a good trait to have within a small group until it becomes rather easy to agree on decisions that might endanger the group in the long run. This can become dangerous for the group when you make bad decisions while everyone rationalizes these choices to make them seem good. An example of this is when a small group becomes very close and open with one another. When a member or members suggest something that might be negative for the group rationalizes the choice instead of speaking out loud about how it could be bad. This can cause the group to fall in a rabbit hole of bad choices, even when there is obvious warning signs. To conclude this presentation, groupthink happens when a group becomes so focused on staying unified that they just stop thinking critically. Whether it is an illusion of invulnerability, collective rationalization, believing the group is morally right, or stereotyping anyone who disagrees, each of these tendencies push people towards agreeing instead of questioning. On top of that, things like pressure to conform, self-censorship, the illusion of unanimity, and mind guards make it even harder for honest opinions to come through. All these warning signs show how easy a group can slip into decisions that aren't fully thought out. When you understand these types of groupthink, it helps remind us why open discussion, disagreement, and critical thinking are so important. Without them, even well-intentioned groups can end up making choices that don't reflect everyone's real thoughts or the best possible outcome. Thank you for listening to our presentation.